Welcome back to the Wake Up Mission Show.
So it's Randy and Shalene here, God, Truth, and Music, fired up and ready to go Monday through Friday live. Today we are joined by not one, two, but three guests. We have with us Mitchell Gerber. Mitchell is an activist dedicated his life to exposing organ harvesting in China. Also, Dr.Enver. He was a cancer surgeon in China 1985 to 1997, but he was forced to leave after exposing his discoveries, which we're going to talk about today, to Western journalism. Also, we were going to be joined by David Kilgar, like we said before the break, but instead we have an author with us. And Randy, please introduce him.
Okay, yeah, the author, his name is Ethan Gutmann. He's an author and an analyst on China, and he's got a couple of books out, but the one that stuck out in my mind is called Losing the New China, a story of American commerce, desire, and betrayal. And his works have been published worldwide. You know, in fact, all three of these guys, they're pretty well known and probably in the political hierarchy in certain countries, probably not very well liked. So I'm bringing all three out now, gentlemen. Thank you all for joining us. If you would please, let's see how we can do this. I guess we'll go in alphabetical order. Mitch, you would be first since your last name starts with a G-E. Would you please say hello to the audience and briefly, introduce yourself and what you're doing, what you're about?
Sure. Thanks, Randy, for having us. Hi, everybody. My name is Mitchell Nicholas Gerber, and I'm very grateful to be on the show today. And as you'll hear from two very esteemed guests, Ethan Gutmann and Dr. Totti, who are definitely experts in the subject we're going to discuss tonight, about a new form of evil that hasn't existed on such a scale, scope, and size in China against the spiritual movement called the Falun Gong that became the largest group in China, as well as with the Tibetans, the Uyghur Muslims, and the House Christians, who have all been sent to these death camps and hospitals around China, state-funded, state-sanctioned, state-mandated, their organs cut out of their bodies while alive, the bodies then burned in the crematories, and they're all sold. And I came across this in 2001 when I really started to practice the Falun Gong exercises, a spiritual meditation movement based in Buddhism and holistic Eastern philosophy, and then realized what has been going on against the spiritual movement. So I've dedicated about 14 years of my life in exposing this, and I'm just very grateful that Ethan Gutmann and Dr. Totti could be here to discuss their findings and what they have to say about this.
Yeah,
we are too. Yeah, we are too. We want to thank you for bringing this to our attention, for listening to our show and bringing it to our attention. We cannot thank you enough. This is just absolutely hideous. And our audience is definitely interested, especially in light of the expose of Planned Parenthood here in America, in which people were shocked about live babies being aborted and then just butchered for the sale of their organs. So yes, Randy, go ahead and bring out our next guest.
Okay, and next up would be Ethan Gutmann. Ethan, if you would please, sir, say hello to the audience and, just give us a little bit of background, on yourself, and then, then we'll bring Dr. Totti out, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the subject.
Yeah, I'm Ethan Gutmann. I'm here in London. I'm an investigative reporter and a journalist, and some people call me an activist, but that's not really true. The fact is, I have no tribe, as they say in Lawrence of Arabia. I have no, I have no tribe at all. And what happened to me in this, and my motivation for this, was simply that I was a businessman in China when the Falun Gong crackdown began in 1999. I watched it happen from my office window, I watched people getting rounded up. I watched sound trucks on the street, things that hadn't been pulled out since the Cultural Revolution.
Oh
And
God.
this was a very strange feeling because I mean I felt like I'd stumbled into a family argument at a table, the dinner table that I didn't want to be there really.
Yeah.
But over time I became interested in that story, just simply the story of how could there be this massive conflict between a spiritual movement like Falun Gong, which was really pretty benign, and the Chinese state. And out of that, I began to do some research, and the organ harvesting thing had already turned up in 2006 with David Kilgore and David Matus. But I began to run into it in my interviews again and again, and it was clearly the thing that made me most convinced was that I would be talking to somebody and they'd sort of say, well, then they tortured me and they gave me this physical examination. I'd be like, hang on, let's talk about this physical a little bit. And then they'd start looking at me like, why are you talking about a medical examination? I mean, who cares? I'm talking to you about my spirituality, and they tortured me and these kinds of, you idiot white man, don't you get it? And I'm like, hang on. And I wouldn't tell them what it was about at all. But it became obvious to me that these people were being looked at purely for their organs and nothing else. Their corneas, just the corneas, the liver, kidney, and sometimes the heart was being examined. That was a very disturbing piece, and I spent about 7 years doing extended interviews because I felt these are really outrageous charges to make against any government. So the best thing to do is to really back it up, and I believe in field research. I believe in the witness above all, not so much in documents, having worked as a businessman in China. And I'm going on too long, but that is all in my book. The Slaughter, that came out in August 2014. The book is, I stand by every word I've written in it, and there's over 300 pages, so that's a lot of things to stand by.
Well, first of all, Ethan, we really appreciate you being on the show. We wish more reporters were like you, so that we can get more facts out instead of propaganda we so much. And then give our audience the name of your book again, because I myself want to read your book.
It's called The Slaughter, and it's got a long subtitle, which my publisher added, but let's leave that aside for the minute. It's basically about organ harvesting, and but in fact, the first chapter, I'd say the star witness in the first chapter is the person you're going to talk to next.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. Randy.
Okay, thank you, Ethan. And up next we have Dr. Enver Toti. Doctor, welcome to the show. Thank you for agreeing to come on with us. And please say hello to our listeners and, inform them of your background and how you discovered what was happening there.
Hello. Hi, everyone. This is Untitled Chapter. I was a cancer surgeon back to northwest China, in the city called Urumqi. And, this is quite a complicated story because I was a cancer surgeon, and I got trouble with Chinese government because I tried to explain why there is high rate of cancer among these local residents. After 2 years investigation, and I got this result, and I tried to publish it, and this has offended the Chinese government. And so I had to run away. This is the main reason why I left China. But in between, in 1995, I have experienced something you cannot believe. Maybe I need to tell you a little later about this, but now I want you to understand that something the favorite website is Amazon. I buy almost everything on the Amazon, and I know when I paid, and I know the product I can find. Then I pay it, and I know when it's going to be delivered to me. But there's one thing I cannot. That human organ. And if in case you buy a human organ online, I suggest you to go to Chinese website, because in China you can order one and you know when this organ will be available for you. That is really weird. So you know a organ will be available, for example, on 5th of on day. Because in the West you have to wait for somebody suddenly to get one organ available. But in China, they will make this death to happen. And this is the story you're going to listen soon.
First of all, gentlemen, thank you so much again for being here. Who is buying the organs? Is it the Chinese government for use in China? Is it corporations? Is it other governments from around the world? Who is buying these organs?
Organs have to be fresh. That is, if you need a kidney, if you need a liver, if you need a heart, it has to be very, very fresh. It has to, ideally, it comes out of a living person and is transferred into your body. That can't be really done outside of China. So these organs are going to two big groups, mainly Chinese. Mainly Chinese or citizens of China. But the big ticket, the ones who will really pay the big money are foreigners, people like you and me and everybody listening. We're
like
the
David
ones that are really
Rockefeller.
after. Well, no, it isn't just super wealthy people. It's really, look, anybody's been faced a position. My own parents passed away not that long ago, and you're faced with these terrible crises. You'll do anything to save their lives, and not to have somebody go on dialysis for years and so on. So people will pay. In some cases, it isn't that much to go to China and get a new organ. And of course, that's the black hole of the investigation, because if the Chinese government doesn't like to talk about it, let me tell you, organ tourists, as we call them, don't like to talk about this at all. It's something that happens. It's fairly secretive, and they're kept at arm's length from the whole process. But I think what Enver was saying was that it is arranged. That is, an Israeli doctor, for example, he's a heart transplant surgeon, and he had a patient who came in and said, "I'm getting an organ this Friday, in a new heart in China." And he said, "Listen to yourself. How can you say that? The Twilight Zone? They can just make arrange a car accident and you get a new heart?" And he said, "I don't know how they're doing it, but I'm going." Right? That's how it works. And the waiting time for new organs in China is about 2 weeks to a month. It's very, very short. Everywhere else in the world, it's about 2 years at least.
So, gentlemen, you just said this Israeli doctor stated, "I don't know how they do it, but I'm going to go get this organ." Mm-hmm. So, is this all the individuals that are purchasing the organs? They don't know what is happening, or do some of them know what they're doing in China and are okay with it?
Well, there's a book written about this. I hate to recommend anybody else's book when I'm on a radio show, but I'll just go ahead and do it. It's called. It's supposed to be a lot of people thought it was a very funny book. It was called Larry's Kidney. I'm holding a copy of it in my hand right now. And being the true story of how I found myself in China with my black sheep cousin and his mail-order bride, skirting the law to get him a transplant and save his life. Okay, so this was actually a funny book that was written about going to get his horrible cousin Larry a kidney in China. And he asked some of those questions, this very smart humorist. It was in Massachusetts, and he sort of says, "Well, where are these organs coming from? Because we hear these rumors about, these strange cults that are being used for." And the doctor says, "Oh, you don't worry, it's coming from a very bad man who killed a whole family, and then he'd come back and kill babies. I would kill him 100 times." So I mean, what was probably true in the description was he said this is a 28-year-old male. That's probably true. So he's probably a 28-year-old Uyghur Muslim or a 28-year-old Falun Gong practitioner, or maybe a Tibetan, or maybe even a house Christian. I mean, there's different kinds out there, but They're all share one thing. These people are enemies of the state. Okay, and that they are absolutely. Yeah, and this is what this is. So this is a mass murder program that earns a really good profit, unlike mass murder programs of the past.
Silence your enemy, or silence those who are questioning you, and make a profit off of it. Oh, my God. So, Mitchell, you are part of this practice, or you became known to be part of this spiritual group through your own, spiritual journey. How did you learn about what was happening, and have you advocated this? Have you written to other governments like UK or the US for help? The UN is supposed to be peacekeepers. What has been done about this?
Well, I came to learn about, I've always been a very spiritual man. I come from a Jewish family, and I've always been interested in the Eastern philosophy of life. And I was studying international human rights and business at the University of Georgia around May 4th, 2001, 2 years after the persecution of Falun Gong started, because the massive crackdown, as Ethan was sharing when he was in China and looking at at the crackdown from his office window, it started in 1999 when the president of China, Jiang Zemin, outlawed the spiritual group. And I came to learn the exercises. It's a very peaceful, organic, natural practice. There's no hierarchy, there's no dogma, there's no cultish characteristics. There's no money involved. You can come as you want and you can go as you want. The exercises are very beautiful, and the philosophy is deeply rooted in three universal principles and values: truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. So I immediately was attracted to this practice. I learned the exercises. I read the philosophy to how to better yourself as a good person, just like a Christian, just like Judaism and Catholicism. And unfortunately, the reports were not coming out. The persecution was the main on the main road, on the front lines, in terms of that Falun Gong was being persecuted, but the organ harvesting reports and confirmation was coming out after by around 2006, when the Honorable David Kilgore and David Mattis and also Ethan Gutmann, they started to come out with the allegations that these were the investigations that the allegations were about forced organ harvesting, where the Falun Gong, particularly the Falun Gong and the Uyghur Muslims and the Tibetans and the Khas Christians, were sent to these death camps. And as a Falun Gong practitioner back in the early 2000s, we didn't really understand what was going on until these allegations were confirmed. So I have to take my hat off to Ethan Gutmann and David Kilgore and David Mattis. And I know they're very humble people and very modest. They almost to the point they get a little. I've said when you're like, oh man, I'm just doing my job. Don't give me any limelight here. But if it wasn't for these gentlemen to come out and really, and they haven't done this for any money. They haven't got any political or religious or affinity to these people. They're not Falun Gong practitioners themselves. But to see this and to unveil this kind of evil that has gone on for so many years, for at least 16 years, something had to be done about it. So when I found out about this, I honestly reached out to David Kilgore and David Mattis and Ethan Gutmann and Dr. Toti to come on to give more credibility to the radio shows and Blog Talk, and hopefully we'll be able to get it in the future, and I'm certain of this, to Megyn Kelly on Fox Business and Today's Show and to Bill O'Reilly, because they are the ones that reach the mainstream millions of people. But I'm grateful that we can come on your show and share this with you.
Oh, absolutely. And there's some, I have a lot of friends that are a lot bigger than us that I can connect you with that I think would be very interested in getting your story out. But based on what Ethan said about this basically being, they're silencing their critics, basically, why the Falun Gong? I mean, they're peaceful individuals. They're not really going against any government. So why were they in particular, do you believe, persecuted in such a manner?
Right.
Can I answer the question, please?
Go ahead, Doctor. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. you see that the persecution of Falun Gong, it started in 1999, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the organ harvesting or organ transplantation started long before that.
Okay.
And because there's a need, and this organ transplantation, it is symbolic of high advanced technology. So Chinese doctor, they need to learn this, to do this, and then for that they need material to practice on. So for that they need humans. So so in China, the first class Chinese citizen, it is the Communist Party member, and the second class is the ordinary Chinese people, and the third class is these good minorities like Tibetans, Uyghurs, and just who had a different ideology other than communism. So those kind of people, because they don't have voice in China and they don't have representative in China, or they don't have master in this world who can look after them. So those people become first victim of Chinese transplantation practicing. So, and when I was a surgeon in 1995, and I was happened to be involved one, and I'm not sure if that one was a Falun Gong practitioner. I don't know, because that time me myself, I had never heard about Falun Gong. So
be clear, Enver, on what happened that day.
So that was 1995 summer. I believe it was a Wednesday because I don't have scheduled surgery on that day. And before that day, our chief surgeon told me that says, tomorrow morning 9 o'clock, can you bring 2 nurses and mobile surgical equipment and our one supposed to be ambulance, and waiting for us at the gate of the hospital. And I was quite excited. I said, wow, I got a chance to perform surgery outside hospital. So I prepared everything. And the next day morning, 9:30, just two chief surgeons. Both of them, the name was Wang. And they appeared at the gate with a very fancy small car. And they told me that, okay, get your team following us. And I said, okay, sure, let's go. So we followed the car, and from that direction, I can tell it is the Western Mountain direction. It is the west to the Urumqi city. But after 40 minutes into the journey, they changed it again. They turned left. And that area I have never been. But one of our, what is called,
anesthesiologist.
Yeah, anesthesiologist. Sorry about my English.
No, you're doing fantastic.
Sorry. And because of that medical terminology, I'm very, very proud about it. He said he has been to that direction, and he said that is Western Mountain execution ground or execution field. I said, my God, what are we going to do there? Then, by then, we saw that 2 surgeons, chief surgeons, they are there, and they said, you wait behind this hill, and when you hear gunshots, then you come quickly, then I will tell you what to do.
Oh, dear God.
So yeah, because that city of Urumqi is surrounded by mountains. And we said the mountain is average 3 or 4,000 meters high mountain. So that hill is quite big. Probably you will call it mountain in this country, but we call that hill. And we were waiting there. Actually, I was a little scared. I said, "Wow, they are."
I would have been too. Yes.
Yeah. Then I don't know. It's about 30 minutes later or 40 minutes. We heard that gunshot. This gunshot is not like automated that gun. It's not like that. It is like many rifles shot at the same time. It is not like one shot one by one. No, it is many. They shoot at one time.
Like a firing squad. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So because I was in charge, and I said, okay, let's go. So we go in. We go around the corner, and on the slope of the hill, I can see 5 to 6 of some bodies lying there, with 2 or 3 meters apart. And there was one armed police said, "Go to the far right." So we straight went to the far right, and the 2 chief surgeons was waiting there, and he said, "Okay, now, Dr. Toki, your job is do as quick as you can. Remove liver and the 2 kidneys."
God.
I become robotic. I lost. I don't know what is called consciousness at that time. Yeah, I just become a like robot doing things mechanically, just like I have been trained to do. But one thing I noticed that this man, our victim, was not shaved. He has hair, because others, they are shaved, like my head shaved. But this man was not shaved. He had hair, and his dress also was different with others, and his wound is on his right chest. Shoot on the right chest, it means to make sure he will not die immediately.
And
yes.
Why? Like Ethan was saying, because they needed a fresh this organ, or was there another reason why they wanted him to slowly die?
Because if this prisoner dead immediately, it doesn't matter how quick you can do, it will exceed that required time. And also, the blood circulation will stop if the prisoner is dead. So it requires that blood circle still going on when we remove the liver and kidney. And I did it. So this it's still haunting me, you see? Because
I know.
You'll never forget that. Now, Doctor, I know you gave this testimony to the Scottish Parliament. What was the reaction when you told this story to them? Did they believe you, or how did they react?
You see, I'm struggling in English vocabulary. Let me try to expand it to you. In English, there's an expression said something is too good to be true, right? But this is opposite. You see, it is too bad to be true. And the people mentality think, how can something bad like that could happen? So they don't believe it. Because that's too bad.
But yet you have Ethan, you have David Kilgore, you have Mitchell. There's been plenty of eyewitnesses, and I'm like the good author here. I like witnesses. I like evidence. There's enough evidence and witnesses to say otherwise. So have any of you gentlemen, gone to not that we are fans of the UN on this show, make no mistake about it, but have any of you gone to the UN to tell them what is going on?
Mitchell, I believe, I never was involved with this, but there was a huge petition drive, which was something like 1.5 million petitions, which went to the UN. Isn't that right?
That's right.
It was delivered in Geneva. Yes, it was.
That's right.
And as I understand it, the UN never responded. It was delivered in Geneva with a press conference, the whole thing, fairly dramatically. The UN literally did not respond at all.
Well, they're good at that.
What year was this, Ethan? What year was this?
That was about 3 or 4 years ago. Is that right, Mitchell?
Yeah, that's right. David Kilgore confirmed that. Yeah, he went with David Mattis, and they talked to the lady chair actually, and another word, silence.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't China on the UN Human Rights Council?
Well, that's part of the problem. Is the corruption at the UN has made it impossible to move in that area. Mm-hmm. We have looked, as one of the three who, me and Matus and we call them the two. I call them the two Davids and me. We have gone around the world. Where we do get a fair amount of hearing is at the government. And a lot of governments take this very seriously, and the reason for that is fairly simple. Their staffers have time to read. I mean, journalists don't these days, okay? They're dealing with this 24-hour news cycle. They really can't read anything, and they never have a moment free. The staffers have to be right, okay? So I'm not saying the congressman is right or the senator's right, but the staffer has to read the stuff and decide if it's valid or not. And there we get tremendous respect. The problem that's been holding us back is actually an area where you wouldn't expect it, but it's actually been the medical community. You see, the transplant surgeons globally have an organization, the Transplantation Society, which is revered and goes for high standards of transplantation and everything else, and especially about organ sourcing. The sourcing must be transparent. You must know where the organ is coming from. They took it into their heads to negotiate with China on this issue and to reform China. And unfortunately, they have very, very little experience in dealing with China. So their assumption was the best thing we can do is be really very polite to our hosts and don't say anything to offend them. So that meant we can talk about death row prisoners who are being used for their organs, but we can't talk about prisoners of conscience. We can't talk about Falun Gong, Uyghurs, Tibetans, and so forth, because that would offend them. And, in fact, it's a highly volatile political issue in China. So they have been negotiating, and they sort of said, to everybody, well, don't worry, we're handling this. And the Chinese came up with various statements saying, oh, yes, we're reforming the system. Now, me and the Davids have never written together before. We've certainly been on panels before and so forth. We've never written before. For the first time, we are coming out with a new report. It's called Bloody Harvest, which is the name of their book, and The Slaughter, which is the name of my book, an update. It's just called that. It's over 300 pages. It's over 1,000 footnotes. And it shows one thing, that the level of transplant volume coming out of China is far above anything we understood. In other words, it's exponentially higher than we understood. In other words, China has been saying they've been doing 10,000 transplants per year. We're finding something, just when I say exponentially, that's a fairly clear, I'm giving you a clear figure. I don't want to, I don't want to give away things in the report, but I'm giving you add a zero, okay? That's what I'm saying, add a zero, and you're starting to get there. I found this information, the evidence on this is astonishing. I believed when I was writing my book, I was writing history. And I thought that this is something that's clearly got to end. Any rational state would end a practice which could which is already exploding in their faces. Not so. We see no sign whatsoever of the hospitals lowering the rate of transplantation in any way. In fact, all we see is new construction and more hospital beds devoted. We have one hospital in their Tianjin, which has over 500 beds devoted to transplant patients. Now, they've got they stay at most for 30 days. That means they're doing about 5,000 transplants per year in one single hospital. Something is very wrong with this picture.
I agree. Well,
highly disturbing.
Normally we go to commercial and music break. I don't want to do that. I think this is too serious of a discussion, Randy. So let's just forego it. We can play advertisements tomorrow. Can you gentlemen stay through for another segment here?
Sure.
Fantastic, gentlemen. So Randy, sorry, advertisers. We thank you. We appreciate you. But I think that this is a very important subject that we must discuss. Yes, continue.
Yeah.
Well, I think the point is, I would just say, we are looking at the, quite honestly, I came into this sort of saying, okay, this is a human rights disaster. It's a crime against humanity. But you know what? There are a lot of human rights disasters out there. I mean, Syria is no slouch, right? We're talking about 250,000, maybe 300,000 people dead. At this point, I've got to say this, and I don't say this because this is my subject. I say this because of this new evidence we're looking at. This is the biggest human rights disaster of this century so far. No, I'm not saying we won't have another, but this is it. And the level of attention that's been paid has been very low, partly just because it's China. But I think it's been helped we've started to get some traction, and partly that's because of the bravery of people like Enver coming out and telling their experiences. I mean, I think that really humanizes it. You can understand how a doctor could end up in this situation when you talk to Enver, when he tells you his story. And I think it's also because of people like Mitchell who are out there bringing this, through social media, through every means possible, getting this out there into the consciousness. And then finally, he says we're so humble, but no, our research has really helped too. I think it's very substantial, and it's more than that. I think I like to think I tell a pretty good story in my book too. So I think we are starting to get some traction. But make no mistake, this is. I am as shocked by the new findings that we have as anyone out there. Okay, as anyone.
You can get your books and your new book coming out, the standard means like Amazon, and the bookstores, all of that, or is there a website we have to go to?
No, my book you gotta purchase it. Okay, you can find some Russian site out there which has copied it. I don't doubt it. Okay, the minute the book came out, there were like 20 Russian sites that said, "Okay, here's a free book." But we tried to stamp them out, but. The point is, the book is out there, and you can download it you get a downloaded version on Amazon for $10, and you would pay a little more for the hardback. And it's out there in German, it's out there in Czech, and it's coming out in Chinese shortly. You can read the Kilgore Mott's Bloody Harvest. You can read that right on their website, organharvestinginvestigation.net. And the new book, we're not going to publish that. We have to just get this out there, get the information out there. It's going to be on the web. It's going to be available on several websites. We're not trying to keep people from the information, but as Mitchell pointed out, there is no money in this field. Trust me. This isn't. So nobody is making a profit off this. Except perhaps one or two of the doctors, So this is not about money. Just as Falun Gong hasn't been about money, this is about really truth and just getting the truth out there. And I think there's a larger picture. It isn't just about Falun Gong and the people who are suffering. This is about the human species. Every time we descend into genocide like this, we have to look at this really closely. This is the most dangerous thing to our species. Okay.
Yes.
Along up there with with disease and maybe the other four horsemen or something.
Right. Doctor, I'd like to you. Dr. Enver, I wasn't able to research Ethan before the show because I didn't know the last minute about the change, but I did research on you. You're an incredible man, and I agree with Mitchell. You're very humble, based on what I could tell from videos and such online.
Thank you.
When you were there, when you experienced it that day, and did you question that day what was happening, or was this later on that you started questioning it? And tell our listening audience what happened once you started getting the information out.
You see, I need to give you a little more explanation about the situation in China.
Okay.
Look, when I was there, the whole China, there's one employer that is Chinese state. So everybody working, if you have a job, you are working for the state. So we choose that doctors, you cannot choose where you want to work. You have to be waiting to be assigned to one hospital to work. And also the Chinese occupation forces in my country, Xinjiang, like a railway bureau. I used to work in Central Railway Bureau, Central Hospital. This bureau is sub-militarized system. So you have no right to ask why and what, but obey. So when they tell you to do this, you don't say no or why. You just do. And I was born to this society, and I was brought up in this system, and I thought that was the world. I thought that is the life. So I didn't question anything. But also after we finished this, our sister said, "Now you take your team back to the hospital, and remember, today nothing happened." Of course, I know what that means. I know very well that meaning. And here I would like to add a little more is that if any doctor involved in such kind of thing, that time he probably has no choice. But if doctor who carried
Hold on 1 second. Randy, can you mute all lines so we can just hear the doctor, please?
Sorry?
Thank you. Okay, continue, doctor.
Okay. There's a medical reform took place in China. So, doctor before medical reform who carried out this organ transplantation, maybe it's by order. So they might, in my opinion, be what's the word? Sorry,
No, you're doing fantastic. So,
no. 1 second. If this doctor carried out this organ transplantation after Chinese medical reform, it means because he has choice. If he still carried out, that is for money. So cannot be what is that word?
Can't be bribed. They can't. They're doing in China, and they get this because we talk about communism frequently on the show, and especially in communist China, you work, you do what they tell you to do. You don't question. So that day was pretty routine for you, even though it was something newer, but it was a shock to you. So what did you do next? I mean, did you perform more of these? No.
That was only once.
Yeah.
And then when I told this, and it was for to the question why Falun Gong practitioner. Now, and let me try to explain this why. Since they started prosecuting Falun Gong practitioner, and they also find out that the Falun Gong practitioners, they don't smoke, they don't drink, but our guys, Uyghur people and the Tibetan people, they are quite wild. They smoke a lot, they drink a lot. So to some extent, Falun Gong practitioners' organs is rather healthier than ours. Yeah.
So it's a little bit of both. They don't have the, like you said earlier, the communist ideology, but they also have healthier organs due to their lifestyle. That makes quite a bit of sense. Anything else you want to share about that day, or would you like to move on from there and share something else?
Can you say again? It's not that clear.
That's okay. We only have a few minutes left of the show. So do you want to share anything else from that day, or would you like to share something else?
Well, there are a lot, tons of information I would like to share, but we don't have time. And what I want to tell this audience is that we cannot allow such things to continue. If we allow, then one day you might find on the Amazon that human organ for sale.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Toti, would you ascribe any of this organ harvesting practicing to possibly in World War II? I saw a special of Japanese doing experiments in the Nanking province. Did this type of organ harvesting practice, did it originate from maybe what happened at that time?
I don't have full enough documents to talk about this, but I know little about a Japanese trip. It's not in Nanking, it's in Manchuria. It's called Trip 731. The trip code name is 731.
Mm-hmm.
What they were doing is they were doing all kind of experiment with prison of war. That including American, English, Russians, all kind of prison of war. But most of them they are Chinese prison of war. And but this, if whether or not they have carried out organ transplantation, I think there's no doubt, because if you have such chance, you would like to do whatever you can think of. That I believe, but I don't have hard evidence or documents to say furthermore.
Oh, okay. Well. We know you had to leave China. You still have family in China. Are you able to speak with them ever? Or is the government persecuting your family?
Chinese Communist Party, it is little funny people. If you have big mouth outside China, your family may have reasonably peace life. If you choose silence, then your family might have problems, because they know you have a bigger audience. Then they will rather treat your family and leave your family in peace. I do talk to my family, but we never talk anything political on the phone.
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Understand.
Yeah.
Oh, doctor. So, gentlemen, for all of you, since the UN isn't going to help, what is the solution? What can we do? How can people get involved?
Can I leave that to how people get involved to Mitchell? I think I'm going to just say one thing, that I have a single goal, and I think it's shared by David Matus and David Kover. We're not going to bomb the rail lines to the hospitals here and to the labor camps, okay? It's not going to happen. But the one thing we can do is remove our own participation in this process. And that means two things. It means no organ tourism coming from America. None. Okay?
Right.
Nobody from America should be going to get a Chinese organ and listening to some doctor say how it's from some terrible murderer anymore. Those days should be over, and there should be no medical confidentiality connected with this either. Okay? Mm-hmm. If you walk into a hospital with a gunshot wound and you say, "Well, I was cleaning my gun," they don't accept that. They call the police.
Right.
All right? If you're bringing your son, he's got a black eye, and you say, "Well, he fell downstairs," That's not acceptable, okay? If you go to China and get an organ, you're an accessory to a crime. So I think that's one angle. The other angle is it has to come down to the medical field itself. And that's why, again, Enver Tufti is so important, because the medical, surgeons, these surgeons shouldn't be going. Chinese surgeons shouldn't be coming to our conferences, okay? They shouldn't be even coming to our universities to learn about our techniques. This is absolutely inappropriate. We have to at least start with clean hands and work out from there.
I agree. I like what you said. Have you spoken to any members of the U.S. Congress about this matter?
We are expecting to we're looking at a dedicated hearing coming up in Washington in May or June. So.
Oh, good. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Mitchell, anything that you would like to share about how people can participate?
Absolutely. Well, if anybody else is listening, and anyone who has connections to more mainstream media networks, talk show hosts, anything, we would love to have David Kilgore, Ethan Gutmann, Dr. Toti to reach more people to become aware, because I think awareness is so important. And for those who would like to learn more about Communist China, there is a great publication called The 9 Commentaries on the Communist Party that can be downloaded for free or viewed for free at 9commentaries.com. And very simply, to get the big picture and to get access also to the Kilgore and Mattis report that Ethan was sharing about, you can just simply go to stoporganharvesting.org. Because I think that when the world truly wakes up to this atrocity, and the mainstream media definitely exposes this after, having the courage to stand up to China's economic pressures, and as well as like the United Nations, China's economic pressures, and really expose this. This is going to leave the world numb and shocked that this could happen and go on in the 21st century. So. Please, if anyone would like to learn more, stoporganharvesting.org, buy Ethan Gutmann's book, The Slaughter, look at Kilgore and Mattis' report, and hopefully have us on as well on your show. But thank you, Randy, Charlene, for allowing us to come on today.
Oh, no, fantastic. We were honored that you were here today, and this is an issue that obviously Randy and I feel is very urgent and crucial to get out. It's a matter that should be discussed and very openly. Doctor, I know your time is very valuable, and we so appreciate you being on today. We've got 2 minutes left. Anything you would like to say before? Say that again.
Thank you very much for invitation.
We so appreciated having you on the show today, very much. And again, Randy and I will make sure we will get this on YouTube. We will do our part. I'll make sure that we send you some links and to other individuals so that you can get this matter out. This is a presidential. One last question. This is a presidential election year here in the U.S. Have you reached out to any of the leading candidates? Because I would think
there is one. You were asking about political leadership who's been involved in this. The Congressional Executive Commission on China has 2 chairs. One is Chris Smith from New Jersey, who's a long-time defender of human rights in China. And the second person is Marco Rubio. Now, I testified in front of the CECC just a couple of months ago on organ harvesting. Marco wasn't there. You make a bet. Some people say he was truant. I say he's running a presidential campaign. Let's be realistic. But I think he'll have a little more time in his hands now, and so I hope to see him at that hearing. And I believe that Marco Rubio is going to go very far before the end of his life. So I would see him as having tremendous potential in this area. I believe that somebody who comes out of Cuba, whose parents come out of Cuba and has that fire in the belly about totalitarianism and communism, I think they're really valuable. And so, well, I don't want to put in a plug for Cruz, but at least he's half Cuban. But I am looking for that.
That's what I look for in presidential candidates. Yeah, Although he says he's going to quit political life, so I mean that's what he declared last week. So I don't know. We shall see. But while he's still in politics, absolutely, this is an issue that he can get fully behind for the reason that you mentioned. Gentlemen, we will do our part as well. You know, it was shocking to me when Mitchell came on our show. We had already heard about Planned Parenthood cutting up live babies, you know, that they had the babies were still alive, and nothing being done about that. So it is mind-boggling that this could be happening anywhere in this world today, especially post the Hitler slaughter and Stalin, and it's just, you cannot believe that this is happening, but it is. And so to all our listeners, it's time to get involved. It's time to do your part. We will have links on our page on Facebook, which of course goes to our website, thewakeupmissionshow.com. And gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.
Sure, Shailene. And one more thing, if I may. If you want us back for an update in the near future, please allow us to know. I'm always available. Randy has my information, and I'll contact Ethan and Doctor and see if they can come on again. And I'm sure if you talk to Dr. David Kilgore, you would also get some great insight. But again, everybody, please look into this, and let's stop this forced organ harvesting once and for all.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you. Tomorrow on our show, we have Christian author Jerry Lombardo. We will be back, same time, same channel, noon, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Thank you very much for watching. It's been the Wake Up Mission Show.
Thank you for spending your time with us on the Wake Up Mission Show.